DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, we're not done. You get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves me, you, him, her, them, and they to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, one daily masterclass. And did you hear me? Yes, the show comes out every single day. Nobody told you, now you know. It is called, everything that I just mentioned is all under one umbrella. That is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, I already told you what we're going to talk about here today. I mentioned it in the previous episode. Today we're going to talk the third day and how you actually leverage the third day in business. Now, we talked about the third day in sports yesterday. Now we're going to talk about the third day in business. So before I get into this, first of all, let me tell you that I have a text community where you can send me a text, and yes, it is me you will be texting. Yes, it's me who will be writing you back, where you can share with me your favorite insights or challenges to or questions about anything that you heard in today's masterclass. On top of that, you will also be receiving my daily motivation text, which I send out every single day once you are in my text community. My number to text me at is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. So that number is also down below in the show notes in case you forgot it already. Now, if those of you don't know what the third day is, if you're watching on video, I'm holding up a copy of the paperback book. Third Day is my newest book, my 29th, at least as of this recording. That is, the subtitle is A Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. What this book is about, it's about when you're going through one of those days. And let's just talk about business, because that's what the topic is here today. Any of you, and this could be any business. This could be if you have you're in your career, you're going through one of those days. Your boss is getting on your nerves. Your subordinates who report to you, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. One of your colleagues who's at the same level as you, they're trying to backstab you right now, and you just got a lot going on. Or maybe you got a lot going on at home, but you have to be at work, and you don't really feel like being at work because your mind is still back at home. That's one of those days. If you're an entrepreneur running a business and your products aren't selling, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to make payroll by the end of the week, and you got these bills that you got to pay, and these forms that you got to fill out, and you got the customers getting on your nerves, and you got all these other things going on, and you got a sick kid at home, but you still had to be at work, is one of those days. That's what I mean when I say the third day. It's any situation in your life when the newness is worn off, the novelty is gone, is not so exciting right now. It might be the exact opposite of exciting, but you have a job to do, and you're responsible for doing it. What do you do in that moment? So the moment itself is the third day, but what our third day concept is about is not about the moment, it's about the decision that you make in the moment, or the decisions, plural, that you make in the moment. That's what the third day is about. And today, we're talking specifically about how you can combat the third day at work, in your business, in your career. The third day happens at work the same way that happens in sports, is that the first time or first times through a situation, things can work for you because maybe they're new. You're new to the marketplace. Maybe you're new to the industry. It's novel, whatever you're bringing to the table. But once the market has gotten used to you, your competitors kind of see what you're doing. Maybe they start copying you or trying to start combating you. Or maybe you're running advertisements and your advertisements are new and funny. But now people gotten used to your ads because they've seen them 100 times already. It doesn't work as well anymore. Now you got to kind of figure out, how do I sustain in this marketplace? How do I actually make things work here on a consistent, sustainable level that's going to work long term? What do I do in this situation? Can you make adjustments and still continue to succeed, or maybe even start to succeed at your career or in your business? That's the question that we're going to answer here today. Well, the answer is yes, but I'm going to give you how. How do you actually do this in your career, in your business, at work with the third day? Point number one, the topic once again, is handling the third day at work and in business. Number one thing is having predictable systems in place. The person that I will give a hat tip to for this idea is a man by the name of Alex Sharfin. He has a company his company is called Sharfin, and he has a podcast that I mentioned in episodes 1637 and 1638. His podcast is called Momentum. And one of the things that Alex talks about, I've been in his coaching programs, and one of the things that Alex talks about in his program is actually the main selling point of everything that he does at his company is teaching entrepreneurs how to create a predictable, sustainable business system with whatever you have going on. And you could already have a business. This is not like he's teaching you how to build a business from zero. He helps people who already have a business and maybe even are successful with their business, making money in their business, but he shows them how to make it predictable and duplicatable and repeatable systems that you know is going to happen over and over and over again. So basically, Alex Sharfin takes the very things that I talked about with athletes yesterday and making sure that you are consistently performing, and the fact that to be a star athlete, you had to do it every single game. He teaches you how to do the same thing, just doing it at work. It's the exact same concept. So his whole business being about predictable systems so that you're not having to reinvent the wheel every time something comes up in business. Because let's be clear, just because you have what we're calling a predictable system doesn't mean you're guaranteed, or every month we're going to make 10 grand, or every month we're going to make 10 million, just because you have a system in place, because things change, right? We know that the pandemic happened, things changed in people's businesses. What if you have a business that's based on gathering people together? You never thought there'd be a situation where people weren't allowed to gather together, and that might have threw a wrench into your entire business. Maybe you had to change everything that you were doing. He has systems for how you make that pivot. He has systems for how you look at things, how you can analyze your business and do things differently. So if any of you who's interested in that, go check out the Momentum podcast. And if you ever get in touch with anybody over at Alex Sharfin, just tell them that Dre Baldwin sent you. So this concept is a really important point, though, at work. You want to have some type of predictable system in place for what you're doing. This is something that I go into detail in the book, The Third Day. Not necessarily for work, but for any human being. Whether you want to use it at work, you want to use it at home, you want to use it, working out in the gym in your basement. This is having routines and having systems in place so that you, every day when you show up, you don't have to figure out, what am I going to do? All right, you never want to be in a situation where you're showing up to work, or showing up to the gym, or showing up to your computer, or showing up to whatever you plan on doing, and you had to figure out, all right, what am I going to do now? Because now you're wasting time. You're using, not even wasting, you're using time, you're using brain energy, you're using attention, you're using focus on something that you should have did before you even got there. No professional shows up to the job not knowing what they're going to do. No professional sports team shows up to a game not knowing what the game plan is for the game. They don't show up to the game and then say, all right, this is the game, let's figure out a game plan now. Nobody does that. No professional athlete does that. No professional in business does that. So if you are a professional in business, make sure you're not doing it. And if you plan on becoming a professional in business, understand this is one of the things that will make it clear that you are a professional rather, in business. It doesn't mean that nothing ever happens. It doesn't mean you never get a wrench thrown into your plans. But if and when you do face what we call the third day at your work, you can lean on your systems and your processes so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. You don't want to be reinventing the wheel every time when you're doing business, because things happen all the time. When you have a predictable system in place, you're able to just plug into the system, and the system will guide you instead of you having to depend on your own personal genius. And this keeps you focused because you're just following the system. The system does the work for you. All you have to do is follow what the system tells you. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the third day in business. How do you handle that third day situation? Because you will face it over and over again. Number 2, respect your boss. What do I mean when I say respect your boss? What I mean is, if you're an entrepreneur, for example, your customers and your clients collectively are your boss. Because if they go away and decide to take their business elsewhere, how much business do you have left? You have nothing. If all your clients and customers just stop buying from you and they go somewhere else, what are you going to do? You ain't got anything left. So you can call this inspiration if you like. You want to call this motivating yourself by thinking about the fact that you have a customer, something that can kind of light a fire under your ass to get you focused and get you back to handling your business, serving your bosses. Even if you're not the entrepreneur, let's say you're working at the company, all right, you literally have somebody who's the boss. You know that if you don't do your job or do what is expected of you, then your boss is going to take notice, and there may be a conversation there that you might not want to be having. Or the boss might have to get rid of you because you're just not doing your job. If you don't do your job often enough, then your boss might have to consider getting your ass out of there because you're not doing the job that you're supposed to do. So this is something that can help. I mean, it may not always work every time, but this is something that you should keep in mind, is serving your boss. And any of you who is in a position where you're front facing at work, again, whether you're the entrepreneur, owner, CEO, or you're someone who is a cog in the machine, you're a piece of the machine that's working there. If you are dealing with on any level the actual clients, the customers, like the people who bring the money in, all right, serve those people. Those are your bosses. Those are really your bosses. Like if you work at McDonald's and you're the cashier, listen, you may not own the place, you may not be the franchisee, but understand those customers that you're serving when they walk up to that window, if you don't get them a good experience, enough of them stop coming, all right, you're not gonna have a job anymore because that store is gonna get shut down because they're not making any money. So your clients and customers, the client and customer of whatever company you work for or work at or own is your boss, even if you are not necessarily the boss yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? So your clients and the customers, the people who come in and buy, if you work at the local donut shop and there's 5 people who work there and you're the register guy or the register girl, those customers that come up, even though you're getting your $20 an hour, no matter what kind of work you do, if you give bad enough service to enough of those customers, first of all, the customers may stop coming, which is going to hurt the entire business, and it's going to hurt you because you won't have a job anymore. You'll probably be the first one to get fired because you're the most expendable. And secondly, if you're not giving a good enough service to those customers who are coming into that register, your bosses may notice, and they might just get rid of you and replace you with somebody who's better. Give that same $20 an hour to somebody else because they'll do a better job than what you're doing. So your clients and customers, when you're working as a cog in the machine, you actually kind of have 2 bosses to serve. You might actually have a bigger job because you're thinking about the customers front facing and you're thinking about the people on the back end, the people who actually sign and write your checks. Both of those people are your bosses. And you got to make sure that you're delivering to them. For you entrepreneurs out there, even though you're the boss, even though you're the owner, nobody can tell you what to do. Technically, rather, nobody can tell you what to do. If you don't serve those customers, you know what happens. You're an entrepreneur. You know what the deal is. You don't have a business if they don't show up. So this could be what lights a fire under your ass, whatever it takes. Make sure that when you face that third day, you remind yourself, all right, the people who are coming into my business today, the people who are coming to my website today, the people who are going to put their credit card information in on the form on my site and they're going to buy a product, they're not having a third day. I'm having a third day. All they know is they've been looking at my products, they've been looking at my offerings, they've been looking at my services, they're interested, they want what I'm offering here. I need to give them what they're expecting. Even though I may not be feeling so great, I got to deliver to them at the level that they're expecting, because if I don't, then they're going to take their business elsewhere and they have 1,000 different choices other than me as to where to take their money. I better make sure I show up and deliver. That's something that you need to keep in mind every single day. All of you entrepreneurs out there, or any of you who's in any type of job where the client can quickly and easily decide to move on from you. And that could be any one of us. If you are a gig worker, you work in a gig economy, if you drive Uber or you're on Fiverr doing gigs, or you're a person who you're a freelancer and you just have clients hire you, listen, your client can fire you just as easily as they can hire you. So just because you have the gig right now or you have the contract right now, listen, you do not good enough work often enough, you won't have any clients, you won't have any business, and you'll be out on your ass just like you were before you got that client. So don't get too comfortable in any situation. If you're a pro athlete, in the professional athletic world, I know we know about the LeBron Jameses and the Tom Brady's and the Serena Williams, but the majority of pro athletes, and this is what most people don't understand if you haven't been on the inside, the majority of pro athletes are not LeBron and Tom Brady and Serena. The majority of pro athletes, they need to perform every single day just to stay in the game. And if they don't perform, they will get cut off the roster, or they might not make the cut to get into the next tournament, or they might not have a job. They might not even get the opportunity to even show what they can do to get their next playing opportunity. And the majority of pro athletes are these people where they got to kind of make sure that they kill what they eat. And if they don't kill anything, they're not going to eat anything. Whereas a Tom Brady can have a bad day, even a bad season, he's still going to eat. Serena as well, LeBron as well. But a lot of the athletes, they're not in that situation. They got to kill every single day, or else they're not going to eat the next day. So keep in mind that your bosses, you figure out who that person is cutting that check, and who's the person that you got to serve in order to keep that other person cutting the check. If you're not delivering to them and not serving them, you will not have a job. So this is, I think, a pretty good thing to keep in mind when you face the third day. The same way that if you're playing a sport and you don't feel like working hard, your coach might say, well, look, y'all better show up and start practicing hard here, or we're going to stand here all day. I've had coaches say that to me at the college and pro level, say, look, y'all ain't practicing hard right now. Y'all better start practicing hard. Here's what's going to happen. Either A, you start practicing hard, or B, we're going to stand here all day and we're going to keep doing the same things over and over again until you start practicing hard. One or the other. Which one y'all want to do? And they would leave it up to the team to do it. And sometimes the coach might say this to a particular player, like, listen, you better start practicing hard or I'm going to kick you out of practice. And if you get kicked out of practice in the pros, you might not be at the next practice, if you understand what I'm saying. Or any of you as a kid, when you were growing up with your parents and your parents told you to get something done, you knew what would happen if you didn't get it done. You knew there would be some form of retribution. So look at your customers the exact same way as the people in charge, because they literally are in charge collectively. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the third day at work. And in business, understand that handling third days at work is what makes you a professional. This is the very thing that separates the pros from the amateurs, as I say on the cover of this book. That's the subtitle of the book. The decision that separates the pros from the amateurs. It is not what we do when everything is working. It's not what we do when everything's firing on all cylinders. Everything we try is just working perfectly. All right, anybody can flourish in that type of situation. It's what we do when things are not working. What do you do when nothing is working? When you're not getting any results. You just put out a product and nobody bought it. You just posted something on social media to promote your business and nobody liked it. All right, you finally got a couple reviews on Facebook and they're all 3 out of 5 stars. They're like, man, your business is okay. What do you do in those situations? Or when you just hired somebody and for their first day at work, they're a Gen Z or they ghosted you. All right, shout out to the Gen Zers. All right, they just didn't show up for work and you thought they'd be the perfect employee. What do you do in those situations? That's the third day. Do you still show up and do your job? Do you still bring the same energy? If someone is on the outside looking in at you at work, they don't know anything about you. They don't know anything about your business. They don't know how good you're doing or how bad you're doing. Could they tell just by looking at your energy and the way that you show up today? Could they tell whether your business is doing great or doing terrible just based on watching you and your energy? I'm going to tell you that they shouldn't be able to tell. I shouldn't be able to tell by looking at your energy, all you professionals out there. I shouldn't be able to tell by looking at your energy if you're doing great or doing terrible. If your business is down to its last dollar and you have no idea how you're going to make payroll this week, I shouldn't be able to tell based on the way you showed up to work today. If your business is doing amazing and you just signed a $10 million deal and you're flush with cash and everything is working and every product you put out is selling out in the first minute, I shouldn't be able to tell based on your energy at work today. As a professional, you should be showing up with the same energy and the same approach every single day. That's what makes you a pro. What makes you a pro is not that you get super high, you're bouncing off the walls when everything's working, and it's not that you're super low, laying on the floor face down like you're dead when nothing is working. A professional shows up and brings the same consistent level of delivery every time, regardless of how you are feeling. And feeling is not just when you're feeling bad, it's also when you're feeling good. I shouldn't be able to tell, oh, everything must be working for them because everybody's all excited. If you're going to be excited every day. And I shouldn't be able to tell, oh, things must be going bad for this business because the owner looks like they look like they're dead, but their eyes are open. All right, I shouldn't be able to tell. It should be consistent all the way through every single day. Professional brings the same energy every time, no matter what. Now ask yourself, the last time you faced the third day, I don't think you really think about this when things are working, right? When everything's going the way you want it to go, when you get to that fourth day, but I'm talking about when you face the third day. It's not working, product's not selling, company's not making money. You're not sure how you're gonna pay these bills. You're not sure how you're gonna pay your staff. You're not sure how you're gonna pay yourself. And you got all this inventory that you can't sell and nobody's coming to your website and you don't know what the hell you're gonna do. What kind of energy you have then? Can I tell by just looking at you if that's what's going on? If I can, then you got something that you need to fix. Let's recap today's class, which is the third day in business. This happens at work the same way it happens in sports, that when you introduce something new to the marketplace, things may work for you really well because they're new and they're novel. But once everyone gets used to it, your competitors, also the marketplace itself, maybe it doesn't work as well anymore. What do you do in those situations? How do you adjust and keep winning? Number one, have predictable systems in place. Have routines in place and processes that you can follow over and over and over again, regardless of whether things are going great or going terrible. Your systems will tell you what to do next, not you going off of your own genius, needing to figure things out every single day. Do not depend on your own genius and your own expertise, because eventually you will run out of time or you will run out of talent. It doesn't mean nothing ever happens in your business, but when you face the third day, lean on your processes, lean on your systems. That keeps you focused. Just follow your own system. If you don't have one, you need to make one. Point number two, respect your bosses. If you're an entrepreneur, your customers and your clients are your bosses. If you work at a company, your customers and clients are your bosses still, because if your company doesn't have any customers and clients, you won't have a job, and they'll probably get rid of you before they get rid of the owner. And the actual person who writes your check, the person who pays you, they're your boss too. So you actually have two people that you need to be paying attention to. So you can call this inspiration to light a fire under your ass. Either way, make sure that your focus is always on serving your customers and clients, because they're the ones who bring the money in. If you have no customers and no clients in your business, then you do not have a business. Whether you're an employee or the owner, if there's no customers, nobody has a job. So look at them the same way you look at your parents when you were growing up. They told you to get something done. You got it done because you know there was retribution that you didn't want to face. Number three, this is what makes you a professional. A professional is a person who shows up every single time and delivers regardless of what they are feeling. Not someone who just shows up when everything's working. It's not somebody who quits when nothing is working. How do you show up and do the job when you're not getting the results right now? Do you bring the same energy? Could I tell just by looking at you and the way you showed up to work today when you're listening to this, could I tell just by looking at your energy if you're having a great day or a horrible day? If I can tell, then there's something wrong with your approach. If you want to call yourself a professional. If you're an amateur, maybe then I'll let it pass. But if you call yourself a pro, I shouldn't be able to tell how good or how bad you're doing in your business based on your energy. It should be the same level every single time. That's what makes somebody a professional. Nobody should be able to tell if you're winning or losing based on the way that you show up. Professional is a person, I'll say this one last time as we close, who shows up and delivers every time the same way, regardless of how they are feeling. I want you to text me. Tell me the best insight you got from today's masterclass. My number is 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.